Hello, it's been another week of plant care, both indoor and outdoor. So I thought I'd film a few bits and pieces for you and string them all together here on YouTube. So I do hope you enjoy them and take a look, see what you think. Good morning, it's Thursday and it's quite dull and damp. Well, it looks bright, but there we are. If we adjust the brightness there, it's quite dark. If you can hear that noise in the background, it's Paul packaging books to send to Ziffit. So if you hear the rip of tape, that's what it is. There you go. So it's Thursday. I am doing a little bit of gardening. It is wet, so let's pop out there and I'll show you what I'm doing. We're waiting for the skip to be collected. And I don't know what time it is. What time is it, Paul? It's about 10ish. So we're all kind of ready for action when the skip man arrives. It's looking quite wet, but I do need to do this. Sorry? I won't be skipping. I'll be faffing and knocking on doors for people to move their cars. As before. How nice. Anyway, let's go outside. I'm noticing that it's really wet now. It was only spitting before, but now the rain's really calming down. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to let rain stop play. I'm going to erect the umbrella and do work underneath. Yeah, I'll show you what I'm doing. Hold on. So I'm now under the umbrella, all cozy and dry. It's a great idea, actually, if you want to do a little bit of work, a small job, put your umbrella up and go underneath. It's lovely. I love it. It's like making a den when you're a child. Anyway, let me show you what I'm doing. I've hoiked down the 3 window boxes from outside the bedroom window, which are last year's window boxes, and they need some attention. They're very dry, but I don't think they're dead. So let's show you. I did actually give this umbrella a clean, believe it or not, but I think some of those stains will be quite hard to get off. But you know what? It's functional. I love that sound. It reminds me of being in a tent as a child. Oh, it's lovely. Anyway, on to the work. So, I don't know whether you remember, but there were down here 3 remaining petunia window boxes. Now they're upstairs now. I've hoiked those up and they're in place, ready for the next season's colour show for the front of the house, which is going to be purple and white. I don't do colour schemes as a rule, but I love purple and white, so it's kind of my favourite. But I very often go for a mixture of reds and whites and, whatever else. Anyway, here are last year's window boxes, which, as you can see, have dried out. They are attempting to flower. You can just see there. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all the dry, dead stuff. And anything that's alive, I'm going to keep some of the leaf on, and I'm going to take some cuttings. I'm just going to literally stick cuttings into a pot of soil, and that's it. I'm not going to film myself cutting every little bit of dead leaf off, as that would be boring, but I'll show you what they look like when they're finished. So for those of you who may be unsure about taking cuttings, this is a trailing geranium, by the way. I'm looking for growth like this, fresh growth. There's some down here as well, some here. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut off a length of it, cut it off and stick it into the soil. That's all I'm going to do. I'll take any flowers that are developing off as well, because I don't want it to put power into the flowers. I want it to put power into the making roots. So that's all I'm going to do, very simple. So those are done. I've literally just stuck them in the soil. I'll give them a water and I'll leave them. If they don't come, they don't come. It's fine. You know, hardly any work at all. It took me less than a minute to do. So, and obviously I've put crocks in the bottom of each pot and just some ordinary compost, peat-free. So let's see how they do. I'll show you the progress. Now let me get on to these, which will take a little bit longer just to tidy them up. So that's one done. Now you can see all the stuff that I've taken off. I mean, in all honesty, I could make loads of cuttings, but I don't really want to be overrun with geraniums. The thing is, when you're cutting back, you can tell something's alive because the centre of the stem, I don't know whether you can see that, the centre of the stem will be green. So I know they're alive. And also the thing to think about is not to cut them, not to allow them to be too leggy, because they will be weak if you do that. You are best to cut them quite hard back. So in actual fact, I mean, I could probably take all of these off, but what I'm going to do is just let it recover a little bit. And very often you'll see new shoots coming from the base, a bit like there, just that one there. So what I'm going to do is top dress with a bit of compost, give them a good bit of water, and I think some feed as well. And they should revive, and, you know, I should enjoy another summer. The thing about geraniums is they don't like to be in too rich a soil. They don't mind a poor soil and a dry soil, because, you know, they thrive in really sort of hot, sunny conditions. So yeah, these should give me another year at least of a good show. Let's get on with the others. I keep finding these peanuts. I found about 3 so far. It's the squirrels hiding them in my window boxes. So there we are, geraniums done, top dressed. I'll let the rainwater give them a good soaking today, and hopefully they'll revive and give us a good show. So I've tidied up, I've put the umbrella away, brushed around, and I'm going to go in, have a cup of coffee, and wait for that skip man to arrive. How jolly. So there is the skip outside, waiting. I do hope he comes soon. I know I said before, when the skip was dropped off, it was slightly anxiety inducing, because there was quite a bit of faff getting neighbours to move their cars and things like that. And the thing about London that a lot of people don't realise is you've got all these residents down the street, but also you've got people that park their cars down the street and then go to work. Because a lot of areas nearby to stations, train stations and tube stations, are what we call CPZs, controlled parking zones, where you can't park unless you're a resident with a residence permit, or you've got a visitor's permit. Now this area is due to be at some point a CPZ, but not yet. So people still, and we've seen them, people will pull up in the morning, park their car, look around the car to make sure it's all okay, and then walk off, probably to work at the hospital or somewhere nearby. So you've got to, in this situation, when you're having a skip collected, you've got to clock from sort of early morning whose cars are in the street. You know, do you know which car belongs to which house? So you can grab them and ask them to move it, because they will need to be moved because of the maneuver that the skip lorry has to do in order to face the skip and hoik it off the drive. So yeah, so now is kind of quite good because I know whose cars are out there and I know those people are in. So just arrive now, please. Anyway, that's the end of this vlog for today. Hope you're all okay. Thanks for watching and I'll see you very soon. Take care. Morning. It's Friday. Friday morning. I'm still in a chores mood, doing mood, and today I'm going to be focusing on plants again. Yesterday afternoon, I think I mentioned in my post on Planet Vegetaria, that's a Facebook group by Richard and Paul, I think I mentioned that I was doing a little bit of plant care. So I've been kind of going through the plants, the house plants, the indoor plants, getting rid of any dead leaves, moving them around, turning them, things like that. But I've got a little bit of plant care to do down here as well. That was upstairs in the attic room. So I don't know whether you remember the potting on that I did, the dividing of the peace lily. Some of these are doing okay. This one's doing fine. Oh, this little one's doing fine as well. A couple of others are doing okay, but a couple have sort of just dried up and died. Well, not dried up because I've been watering them regularly. I think the key thing with any cuttings that you take or any splitting that you do is to keep them well watered for a couple of weeks. But a couple have failed, so that's okay. It's not a problem. I've got plenty. There are a couple that are sort of struggling but have new growth. So any like that, I will simply remove any dead leaves. So I've also got the spider plants down here. I'll think about them another day. And I've got a couple more peace lilies. This one's an interesting one. Is it dripping water? No, it isn't. This one's an interesting one because these leaves are upright. So it's still alive, even though they're a bit dry looking and the ends have gone funny, but that's still alive. If it was dead or struggling, it would probably look a little bit more like this. Floppy, struggling. So I've got to tidy those up. Also, what I wanted to say as well is, I don't know whether you watched Sunday Chat, but I was talking about writing to the council about speeding cars down our road, which is a narrow London street with lots of parked vehicles. Like we talked about the skip being delivered and removed, you know, a small skip lorry, and they're not too big. That takes quite a few manoeuvres to get it turned in the road with no cars. But if you can imagine there are cars, there's no room for any kind of manoeuvre at all. And people have been speeding down the road like crazy. So I wrote to the council, wrote to transport planning. It was about, I don't know, a week ago now. Copied in our MP, Mr. Sharma. And my prediction has just come true. There's just been a smash. Just literally hop, skip and a jump from this house. I was getting dressed and I heard a smash. I heard a loud noise and I thought for a moment, oh, it's the cranes moving, you know, big bits of stuff on the building site, and I could see a crane. I looked out the window, I could see a crane moving, so I thought, oh, it's just dropped a load probably, you know. But then I noticed in the street there was a bit of a commotion going on, so I went to the top of the house and I had a look, and yes, two cars have collided. One going across the crossroads and one coming down the street. So either somebody wasn't looking or the other car was going too fast. Either way, an accident has now occurred. Traffic calming needs to happen in this street. Anybody can see that. Any normal thinking person can see that. So, that's the rant over. I hope nobody was hurt. Clearly, obviously. But, 2 drivers have learnt a lesson this morning. A hard lesson. So, on a lighter note, moving on. I can hear Paul in the background. Paul! Paul! Are you decent? Come and say hello to the viewers. Give them your beauty. Look, here's Paul.
Hello.
God, you look so brown compared to me.
Yes, that's because
so
you're
pale.
anemic.
I'm not anemic at all.
You just look it.
I'm, pale and interesting. That's what
Pain.
I say. So, Paul, pale?
Oh.
Where are you going now?
I'm going to plot.
To plot? To do some of that gardening?
Yeah.
Lovely.
I'm going to be putting lines out today.
Lines?
Yeah. Not those type of lines.
What type of lines?
Blue cord I'm putting out.
What for? What?
To do my path down my tomato bed.
What, to get it straight like Vivi's?
That'll never happen.
No, it'll never happen. You could never top the Vivi for straight lines.
Oh.
What am I doing? So I'm going to bring you on my little journey today, which is going to be all about finding some little pots. Now, I don't know whether you remember a while ago, I was given a Kalanchoe by a neighbour, my lovely neighbour over the road, and I potted on the babies. What now?
Who was given the Kalanchoe?
I was. We were. Paul was.
Bye.
Bye, I'll see you later. Don't slam the door as you leave. What was I saying? Oh yeah, Kalanchoe. And it had babies, and the Kalanchoes have little plantlets along the edge of the leaves. They just sprout like crazy and pop everywhere. So I potted some up and they have grown, and it's really time to pot those up into individual pots. Even the babies are having babies now. So, but I want to put them into nice pots. And seeing as we've just cleared out the shed and cleared the side of the house and found loads of pots, I need to go through them and pick out the smallest pots. And there are a few. So come outside with me and let's have a look for small pots. I'm going to put my gloves on. Yeah. Okay, see you in a moment. It's another grey day. Right, let's find some pots. This is what I'm looking for, this kind of size. Lovely. That used to have a candle in it. It'll be perfect. Oh, and that one. Oh, there's a bit of a haul here. Yes. Come on, Mr. Snail. You can go and live somewhere else. That one's a nice one. That one's quite nice. And another one. So I think that will do for now. I'm going to get these washed and ready. It's taken me the best part of a good half an hour or so to wash all these pots. So I've decided on these small ones. I mean, they're lovely. We've had these for years and years. And they're just simple glazed pots, some with a simple design on them. But they're sturdy and they're perfect, I think. A couple of them were candle holders. So they've got no drainage holes. So I'd have to put a little plastic pot inside and maybe some grit on the bottom for drainage. So I've got a couple of those. I've got a little terracotta one as well. I've also prepared myself with a little bowl of washed grit just from the driveway. and some washed crocks as well for drainage. And also I've got loads of these. I mean, if I think of the amount of money that we must have spent over the years on pots and saucers, they're these little saucers, you know, drip trays, quite attractive. I've washed everything. I've not scrubbed everything. I've just washed them in cold water to rinse off any debris, and then in some warm soapy water with a biodegradable washing up liquid. So they're not scrubbed perfect, but I like that rustic look, you know I do. I've got my succulent compost. I'm hoping that I've got enough for these pots. I should be able to do these pots. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I should be able to do them. These are the Kalanchoe babies. This one, not so much of a baby, getting quite mature, but needs to come out of this small pot. And I don't know whether you can see, I don't know whether the camera will focus. Hold on, let's see. It's having babies all over. This one is a little less mature and looking a little bit leggy, actually. They look a little weaker. I don't want to end up with hundreds of Kalanchoes, so some of them might not make it. Well, I'm actually just going to have a coffee because I've been outside chatting with the neighbour as well. I've been washing these. My hands are actually quite cold now. So I'm going to take a quick coffee break. Oh, update on that accident. Nobody was hurt. And I certainly heard no ambulances, but apparently it was due to what I said, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. My neighbour saw it happen. He was walking down the road and he said the van was going too fast and the other car just pulled out. So choices, people, choices. I'm having a coffee. I'll see you shortly. Several hours have actually elapsed since I started this video. I got sidetracked and then I ended up having a long conversation with my sister on the phone. Then Paul came back, we had lunch, then we ended up watching some TV, then I ended up having a little sleep. Crazy. So let's get started with this. First thing I'm going to do is get my pots filled with some of my compost. Okay, so let's extract some of these. I'm just giving the pot a little squeeze. I'm just literally just gently lifting out. There we are. I'm just going to make a little hole. Pop it in. Give it a gentle press down. Let's pull another one. Yeah. That'll do. Pretty. What do you reckon? Do you think I can get 3 in there? I think so. They don't seem to mind being crowded in. I mean, if you look at this one here, which is a bit more mature, there are several in there, and they seem to quite like it. I mean, it's having babies everywhere. Okay, these final two, I'm going to put one of these in each. So let's have a little look at how this is doing. Just giving it a squeeze. Gently pulling it apart. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this clump. I'm going to take the small one out from the centre. I'm going to put those two in together. That'll do, it'll perk up as it grows. I'm going to do the same again. There's two large ones and there's some small ones in the centre which I don't really need. Like I was saying with the geraniums the other day, I don't want to be overrun with, you know, one specific type of plant. I'd rather they sort of get a chance to develop and get bigger. Lots to go in that. Just to top fill that. That'll do. Lovely. So I've got these to do as well. I'm going to have to find a couple more pots. So I've sourced another couple of pots. I've got this one here, but it hasn't got a hole in it, so I'm going to use an inner pot inside. And then this one here, this lovely old pot. This was my mum's. She had a plant in it years and years. I mean, we're talking 40 years ago. It's got a crack, but that's okay. It does have a drainage hole in the bottom, so I'm going to be putting it onto a saucer. But it's so sweet, so attractive, so I'm going to again put a plastic pot inside there. And I'm going to put a little bit of gravel at the bottom of each of these, just to make sure they're not sitting in water. So let me get on with that. Put a crock in the bottom of the actual plastic pot, and then a little bit of gravel just in the bottom there. things for me to do is to give all of these a bit of water. The Kalanchoes seem to quite like a good bit of water. They're not like cacti in so much as you tend to give very small amounts of water. So yeah, they seem to enjoy a good glug once a week. So I'm going to do that now and wind down for the day. It's not been a particularly busy, full-on day, but you know, hey-ho. And tidy up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.